guys? The Spring framework which will comes under the category of which framework? So Spring will comes under for what? ORM framework or web application framework or application framework?
Application.
Application framework. Why? So by using like as in the Spring, what kind of an applications we can develop? What kind of an applications we can develop by using the Spring framework, guys?
Web applications.
Yes, not web applications, guys. We can develop any kind of an applications, standalone applications, web applications, and distributed applications. Why? Because the Spring is having a lot of libraries on the lot of modules, which helps to develop like as in the application by taking those modules, right? Right or not? Right or not, guys?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So these are the different modules, guys. These are the different modules which we have highlighted on the yesterday session as part of our Spring architecture. Okay, that is Spring Core module, which helps us to develop the standalone applications and to understand about the basic fundamentals of Spring framework as well. Okay, nothing but working with the Spring containers, working with what dependency injections, and working with what stereotype annotations, and working with what Spring expression language. All these are the fundamental topics of our Spring core module, guys. Without taking the help of the without knowing the knowledge of Spring core module, you cannot learn the rest of other modules in the Spring framework. Okay, once you got the good hands on with the Spring core, you can easily start with what rest of other modules in any order. Understand, guys? Okay. Yeah. So, and the next one is Spring Web module, guys. By using like as in the Spring Web module, so you can develop for what? Web applications. You can develop for what? Web applications in the Spring framework, guys. Whenever you guys are developing the web applications in the Spring framework, guys, you no need to bother about like as in the you no need to bother about creating the friend controller, guys. Why? Because Spring MVC has given a friend controller for you as a dispatcher servlet. Okay, all the request of the web application will pass through that friend controller only. Understand, guys? So we will be going to talk about much more in upcoming sessions about this web application development using Spring framework. Okay, sir, as part of our curriculum, sir. Okay, initially whenever the Spring Boot MVC, whenever you are developing the web application using Spring Boot framework, okay, Spring Boot, guys, at that time I will talk about what is web application, what are the various components are involved in the web application, and how you can develop the web application using Spring MVC, and what are the advantages of developing the web application using Spring Boot as well. I will talk all these things. Okay, yeah. And the Spring Dove, guys. Spring Dove is nothing but for what? Spring data access layer, basically. So how you can communicate with the database software using Spring framework. Okay, so there are the two modules, guys, which helps to talk with the database software from the Spring framework by using for what? Spring JDBC and Spring ORM. Spring JDBC is nothing but for what? Abstraction layer on top of JDBC, sir. If you are working with what JDBC technology means, as I already highlighted the some of the problems with the JDBC technologies, guys, to overcome that problems, Spring has provided the abstraction on top of it that is called Spring JDBC. Okay, and similar to for what Spring ORM, sir. You people already learned about some of the ORM tools, right? You just aware of it, some of the ORM tools. What are the different ORM tools are available in the market? What are the different ORM tools are available in the market?
Hibernate.
JPA and Hibernate, guys. JPA and Hibernate are the very popular ORM frameworks are available in the market, guys, for developing the persistence logics in your project. Understand, guys? Okay. The Spring also provided, so Spring also provided like as an abstraction layer on top of existing ORM frameworks. Okay. Spring has having for what? So Spring has a Spring provided like as an abstraction on top of the ORM frameworks, guys. So that is how we have the module called Spring ORM. Okay. So which modules will help to communicate with the database from the Spring module from the Spring framework? Come on, guys. Which modules will helps to communicate with the database from Spring application?
DAO.
Yeah, which modules, guys? Under the DAO, we have the two different modules, right? Under the
JDBC.
DAO, yeah,
Spring DAO.
yeah, Spring DAO, sir. That is fine. But the thing is, what are the different modules of DAO we have to communicate with the database from Spring application? That is Spring JDBC and Spring ORM, right or
Okay.
not?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So keep that point in your mind, guys, everybody. So Spring Data Access Layer will always Spring Data Access Layer contains for what? Two modules, guys, to communicate with the databases. One is for what? Spring JDBC. Another one is for what? Another one is for what?
Spring ORM.
Spring ORM, guys. Spring ORM. Okay. Spring JDBC is an abstraction on top of JDBC technology, guys. Spring ORM is an abstraction on top of for what? Existing ORM frameworks. Simple. Hope you guys are comfortable or not up to now. And we have, yeah, so we have the another module as well called Spring AOP, guys. So AOP stands for what? Aspect oriented programming, which is similar to for what? Object. So you people might heard about with what? Procedure oriented programming and object oriented programming. And so Spring has introduced the new language called new programming language called aspect oriented programming language, guys. Aspect oriented programming language. What is an advantage of using the aspect oriented programming language? Aspect oriented programming, wherever you want the secondary services to your business services, easily you can easily you can apply easily you can apply by using for what? AOP. Understand, guys? Understand my point or not, everybody?
Yes.
Yes. So what do you mean by secondary services? What do you mean by secondary services, guys, in an application development?
Like email service.
Like such as logging service,
Lo-
email
email.
service, transaction service, security service. All these are the secondary services, guys. What are the business? What are the core services or business services of an application? Such as business activities, such as cash withdrawal, cash deposit. Okay, cash deposit, getting some sort of mini statement, getting the mini statement of your account. All these are the business services or not? So, does the secondary services are required for every business method? Does the secondary services are required for every business method, guys? Tell me, guys. Whenever you are
Sometimes it
taking,
sometimes
whenever
it is required.
correct. Some of the business methods only require the secondary services, guys, while at the time of executing. Understand, guys? Let's take a simple example, sir. Whenever you are generating the mini statement of your account, tell me, is it necessary to apply a send an email for every time? Tell
No.
me, guys. No.
Not
So at
required.
not required. At that time, we no need to apply the secondary services to that business services, right or not? Okay. So wherever the secondary services is required for your business services, at the time only you can apply that the secondary services, case that you can do with the help of for what? AOP. Hope you guys are comfortable or not.
Yes.
Yes. So these are the different important modules of our the Spring framework, guys. Okay. So what is the base module for every Spring frame? What is the base module for the Spring framework, guys?
Spring core.
Spring core. Once you got the knowledge on the Spring, so what does the Spring core will contain, sir? So as I already mentioned, the Spring core module is a base module for remaining modules of our the Spring framework, guys. Okay. And the Spring core is the central part of the Spring framework to work with what? To work with what?
Beans.
Spring container. To
Yeah,
work
yeah.
with what? Spring container, guys. Sir, as I already explained you on yesterday. So in core Java application development, whenever whenever the one class object requires the other class object, means as a programmer need to responsible of creating such objects inside the main class or not using the new keyword.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but whereas in the Spring framework, you no need to bother about creating such a kind of an objects inside the one class. Okay, you just hand over you just hand over your classes to Spring, so that Spring will automatically take care of creating an objects for those classes and injecting those objects as well into your required classes as well, guys. Understand my point or not?
Yeah.
As I already told you guys on yesterday, guys, whenever you have like as in the classes in your project, okay, so just create the classes independently, guys. Create your classes independently and hand over your classes to whom? Spring framework. Understand, guys? Hand over your classes to whom, guys? Spring. So let's say, for example, this is the class called 1 minute. This is the class called demo.java. Okay. This is the class called demo.java, guys. Okay. This is the okay, demo.java and something for what? Test.java. Okay. Okay. And the next one is for what? Something about customer.java. Okay. Customer.java. Okay. Customer.java, guys. Simple, sir. Okay. So we are just handovering these classes to whom? Spring framework. Agree or not? So what the Spring will do, sir? Spring will hand over the job to whom? Guys?
Container.
Spring will hand over the job to whom?
Spring container.
Spring container, sir. What the Spring container will do, guys? What the Spring container will do? Come on. Spring container.
Instantiates the object and
Spring container will create the objects, guys. Spring container will create the objects for the given classes. Right or not? And the second step is for what? Injecting the objects as well. Right or not, guys?
yeah.
Injecting the objects, right or not? Suppose the test class object is required for the demo class and customer object is required for the demo class. So those injections also will be taken care by whom? Those
Container.
injections are also will be taken care by whom? Container, guys. So container. So now tell me, so developer lives becomes easy or not? Developer lives becomes easy or not, guys? On behalf of the programmer, so these things will be done by whom? Spring container, guys. Spring container. Understand my point or not?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So that is the thing, guys. That is the thing. Spring core is the central part of the Spring framework to work with what? Spring container, guys. So what does the Spring container will do? It manages how the beans are created, guys, and how the beans are configured in the Spring application. Understand my point or not, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So Spring Core is for what? It is a central core of the Spring framework, guys, to work with what? Spring container. So the Spring container, what the Spring container will do, guys? It will manages the beans create. It will manages how the Spring beans are created and how the beans are configured in the Spring application, guys. Simple. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What is the next point? So this module makes like as an the this module makes the Spring application as an for what? Lightweight by providing the loosely coupled between the objects, guys. So whenever you guys are creating an object, guys, whenever you guys are creating a dependent object into the main object means those two classes are tightly coupled with each other or not? Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's take a simple example. Okay. You have a shopping application. So let's take a simple example, sir. Okay. Let's take a simple example. If you take as an example of class Flipkart. Okay. Class Flipkart, guys. It is a Flipkart class. So Flipkart requires for what? Guys? Flipkart requires for what? Payment object, right or not? payment object or not? Come on, guys. Yes. Yes, it is a payment object. So the payment object can be of in how many forms, guys? Payment can be of credit card, payment can be of debit card, and payment can be of for what? Internet banking, and the payment can be of for what? Wallets or not? Come on, guys. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Is that true or not?
True.
Yes. So it can be of anything, sir. Okay. So it can be of debit card. Okay. It can be of debit card. It can be of credit card. Okay. It can be of credit card, guys. Okay. It can be of, okay. It can be of net banking. Okay. It can be of what? Wallets, such as Paytm wallet or MobiKwik wallet or any kind of wallets, guys, you can consider. Okay. So these are the very various forms or not? Now tell me, if the Flipkart class is injecting only the debit card of allowing the debit card of payment means, so our Flipkart is purely dependent on what? Debit card payments. Agree or not? Agree or not, guys?
Yeah.
Yes. Let's take a simple example, sir. These are the, let's consider this is an interface and this is nothing but an implementation classes. Right or not? Right now, our Flipkart is allowing for what? Any kind of a payment. Agree or not, guys? Agree or not? So this is called loosely coupled, guys. This is called the loosely coupled between the Java objects. Flipkart object is injecting the payment object with any kind of payments, right or not? How you are getting like as in the loosely coupled between the objects? How you are getting like as in the how you are getting the loosely coupled objects? How you are getting the loosely coupled between the objects, guys? By using interface orientation approach. So this is an interface, guys. Payment is an interface, and all these are can I consider as an for what? It is an interface, and all these are nothing but an for what? Implementation classes or not?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Is that true or not? Whenever you guys are following interface approach, guys, interface orientation approach, definitely you will be the getting the loosely coupled between the Java objects, guys. Understand? Understand or not? Why? Because
Yes.
payment interface contains for what? Generic methods. Payment interface contains for what? Generic methods. And those generic methods are having their own implementation, right or not? Payment
Yes.
interface contains for what? Generic methods, and those generic methods have been own implementations of for what? Related to the functionality. Understand, guys? Understand or not?
Yeah.
Understand.
Yes. So that is the reason behind how you are going to get like as on the loosely coupled between the Java objects, guys. So and at the same way, the Spring is going to be in the lightweight because of for what? Several reasons. Right or not? One of the best reason is for what, guys? Spring contains heavyweight containers or lightweight containers. Spring framework contains for what? Heavyweight containers or lightweight containers, guys?
Lightweight
Yeah.
containers.
Lightweight containers. What do you mean by lightweight containers? The programmer having a control to initiate such containers, right or not? Programmer having a control to initiate the containers or not? When you are working with the servlets and JSP, tell me who will be the responsible of initiating the servlet container to execute the servlet programs and JSP container to execute the JSP programs? Tomcat server. When you start the Tomcat server, then only those containers get initiated, right or not, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, but whereas in the Spring framework, guys, you no need to do such things. Wherever you want to activate the Spring container, simply you can create an object of certain interface related implementation classes. That's all. So that is one of the reason behind the Spring applications becomes for what? Lightweight and loosely coupled between the objects. Okay. And this Spring core module mainly focusing on for what? How you are performing the dependency injection, sir. Dependency injection means, what do you mean by dependency injection? process of injecting the dependent object into the main object at runtime by the Spring container is called dependency injection. Let me put that statement here. The process of injecting the dependent object, okay, dependent object into the main object by the container, by the Spring container at runtime is known as dependency injection, guys. Understand, guys? Everybody understand or not? The process of injecting the dependent object into the main object by the Spring container at runtime is known as, and for what? Dependency injection. Sir, who will be the taking care of injecting the dependent object into the main object in the Spring framework?
Spring
Spring
container.
container.
Spring container. You no need to do anything, sir. You no need to do anything. Spring container will take care of you, behalf of you. Spring container will take care behalf of you, sir. That's all. Okay. This core module is pure. This core module is majorly focusing on for what? How the dependency injection will works. Okay, that is the one important thing. Along with that, some of the services which you can get from this core module itself, such as email service, internationalization service, and supporting like as in the AOP programming as well, guys. Understand? These are the some of the services are related to for what? Spring core container. Okay, the core container is always talks about for what? How you are managing the beans and how the Spring beans are creating. And how you are going in the Spring core talks about with what? Core component will talks about with what? How the containers are instantiated. How the containers are instantiated, how the containers are working. That is core. Okay, context will talk about for what? To support email services and internationalization services. Spell is used for what? To support for what? AOP programming. Understand, guys? So what does the core container, what does the core module contains the services? How the Spring beans are created and how the Spring beans are managed, and how the container is activated and how the containers are working. Okay, and then followed with what? Some of the additional services of an email and internationalization. Okay, along with that, Spring expression language, guys. Sir, how many of you guys are heard about like as an expression language in JSP? How many of you guys heard about like as an expression language in JSP, sir? The people who are already learned with me with the Java full stack development, you people might aware of it. Expression language is used for what? Avoid writing for what? Scriptlet tags and avoid writing for what? Scriptlet tags and the declaration tags. Agree or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And at the same way, the Spring is also having their own expression language, guys, to evaluate the expressions. To evaluate like as an expressions, guys. Understand? So that we can do with the help of Spring expression language. Okay, this is what the brief about like as in the Spring core module, guys. Anybody having any questions? Anybody having any questions, guys? Anybody having any questions on this the Spring core module? Spring core is for what? Base module for rest of other modules. Okay, in the Spring core module, so we are going to learn how the Spring beans are created and how the Spring beans are managed by the IOC, and how you can work with what different containers or different types of containers in the Spring framework. All these things which you will be the learning as part of our Spring core. Understand, guys? Understand?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, fine. Let's jump on to the next thing. How, what do you mean by what do you mean by the Spring container and all these things? So what do you mean by container, sir? Basically, what do you mean by container? Container is nothing but a software application or not? Container is a software application or a simple Java class that can take care of whole life cycle of the given resource. Understand, guys? Container is nothing but a software application, guys. Servlet container will take the servlet container is nothing but an what? It's a software application which will be the taking care of executing of your servlet program or not. Come on, guys. Is that true?
Yeah.
Servlet container responsibility is used for what? Creating an object of servlet program. Okay, and executing the lifecycle methods of our servlet program, right or not? And JSP container is also responsible for what? Creating an object of your JSP program and executing the lifecycle methods of underlying Java equivalent servlet program, right or not? At the same way, sir, that is what the brief definition, brief point about container. Container is a software application, guys, or a simple Java class that can take care of whole life cycle of given resources. Spring container responsibility is for what? Tell me, guys, executing the Spring application or not? Servlet container responsibility is for what? Executing the servlet program. JSP container responsibility is for what? Executing the JSP program. EJB container responsibility is for what? Executing the EJB program. Executing the EJB program. Okay. And so Spring container responsibility is for what? Executing the Spring application. Understand, guys? Understand or not? Clear, guys, everybody?
Clear.
Yes. Okay, fine. Yeah. And the Spring container is nothing but and for what? Spring container is not any kind of the software application, guys. Spring container is nothing but a Java class which is provided by Spring framework, and it is not an executable file or any kind of batch file or any kind of setup file, sir. Okay, you no need to install any kind of the special software to work with what Spring container, guys. It's nothing but a simple Java class. Understand, guys? It's nothing but a simple Java class which is provided by the Spring framework, and it is not an any kind of an executable file or any batch file or a setup file, sir. Okay, once you create an object of certain Java class, automatically container get initiated. Understand? Understand, guys, everybody?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, fine. Yeah. So there are the two Spring containers are available, guys. There are the two kinds of the Spring containers are available. What are those? Can you guys please read out?
Bean factory and application context.
Bean factory container and application context container, guys. These are the two containers of Spring framework, guys. These are the two containers of Spring framework. Understand, guys, everybody? What are the different containers, or what are the different types of containers are available in Spring? What are the different types of the containers are available in the Spring?
Bean factory and application
context. These are the two important containers of Spring framework, guys. Each of these containers will provide some set of services. Okay, each of these containers will provide for what? Some set of services, guys. Okay, so when you ask me about, sir, Bean factory or the application context or any kind of predefined classes or any kind of predefined interfaces, sir, Bean factory and application context are predefined interfaces from Spring library, sir. What do you mean, sir? Bean factory or application context are the predefined classes or the predefined interfaces?
interfaces.
Predefined interfaces from which library? Spring library or third party library?
Spring.
Spring library itself. And each of these containers will have some set of services or not?
Yeah.
Yes. So let's see, sir. Let's see what are the services are offering by these containers. So Bean factory container, sir, Bean factory container can only provides what kind of service? Dependency injection. Dependency injection service only it will provide by whom, guys? Which container? Which container, guys?
Bean factory.
Bean factory, sir. So Application context. Application context, guys. Application context can provide some set of services than bean factory container. Understand, guys? Application context container provides like as in the more services than the bean factory container, sir. What are those? Dependency injection, AOP integration, internationalization service, and event handling mechanism. Understand, guys? So out of these two containers, which container are providing the more services, guys? Bean factory or application context?
Application context.
Can I say bean factory container is a so parent interface, and can I say application context is on the child interface or not?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely, sir. Definitely. So out of these two containers, guys, bean factory container will have only the limited feature called dependency injection. But whereas in application context container, guys, we will be having a lot of services from the Spring, such as dependency injection, okay, AOP integration, internationalization service, okay, event handling mechanism. All these are services coming from application context container, guys. As I already mentioned, bean factory and the application context are the interfaces from Spring library. Clear, guys, everybody? Clear or not?
Clear.
Yeah. Anybody having any question about the Spring container? So in order to work with what Spring container, are we required to install any kind of the software in our mission? Are we required to install any kind of the software in your mission to work with what Spring container?
No, only
No.
Spring library.
Only the two containers, guys. Okay. So you just need to work with what? A simple Java class to initiate the container. Simple as that. Hope you guys are comfortable. Come on, guys. Anybody having any questions so far? Are you guys clear with this so far? Whatever we have discussed about the Spring container. Yeah. Let's talk about what are the implementation classes of these two containers, guys. As I already mentioned, sir. As I already mentioned you, the bean factory is an interface, guys. It will be having for what? Several implementation classes. One of the implementation class is for what? XML bean factory. Another implementation class is for what? Simple J&A bean factory class. Another implementation class is for what? Default listable bean factory class, guys. Default listable bean factory class. Out of these three classes, guys, first class is deprecated, guys. In the recent versions of the Spring, it is deprecated. Okay. So now we are using for what? Default listable bean factory class to instantiate an object of bean factory container. Understood, everybody? Understood or not?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Fine, guys. Fine. So out of these three implementation classes, guys, which class is deprecated?
XML bean factory.
Just give me a second, sir. Yeah. So come on, guys, tell me which class is deprecated, guys? The implementation class of bean factory container. Which class is deprecated, sir? From the bean
XML
factory
bean
container?
factory.
XML bean factory. Nowadays, which class we are using to initiate the bean factory container?
Default listable bean
Bean
factory.
factory. Yes, that is an implementation class we are going to use for what? Bean factory container. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about another, guys. Application context is also an interface, right or not? And we'll be having for what? implementation classes. So one implementation class is class path XML application context and file system XML application context and XML web application context. Understand, guys? These two implementation classes are helpful for developing the standalone applications in the Spring framework, guys. And this implementation class is used for what? Developing the web application. Understand, guys, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Clear, guys, everybody up to now? So hope you guys are comfortable or not. What are the implementation classes of Bean Factory container and application context container? Clear? Anybody having any questions? Right. So don't worry, guys. So going forward, when we are talking about a hands-on session in the tomorrow session, when we are talking about the hands-on application in the tomorrow, guys, you will get to know how you are initiating the containers, how you are initiating the containers and all these things. Okay, fine. Yeah. Anybody having any questions so far? Yeah, fine. So let's talk about some more points. Okay, activating the Spring container in the Spring application is nothing but creating an object of an implementation classes of a implementation classer for either of any containers, guys. So how we are activating the Spring container, guys? Come on. Activating the Spring container in the Spring application is nothing but creating an object of this in implementation classes of this respect to the containers or not? Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, fine. And most frequently used implementation classes are XML Bean Factory, guys. In the older versions of Spring Framework, in the latest versions of our Spring Framework, we will be the using for what? Default listable Bean Factory, guys. There is some typo mistake in this slide. I will change it accordingly, sir. Okay. Yeah, tomorrow I will make it the change. Okay, yeah. So small correction, guys, on this slide. The most frequently used implementation classes of the most frequently used implementation classes of the Bean Factory container are for what? XML Bean Factory from the older versions of the Spring Framework. In the latest versions of our Spring Framework is for what? Default
Listable.
listable Bean Factory, guys. Okay. So when it comes for application context container, we will be the creating an object of for what? Class path XML application context. Understand, guys? Most frequently used these implementation classes of our Spring application development, guys. Okay, everybody is the clear? Everybody so far with me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So do we have this kind of facility? Do we have this kind of facility to initiate the servlet container and the JSP container, guys? No, sir. Okay, that is what I have mentioned. We cannot activate the servlet container and JSP container, guys, by creating an objects of the certain classes. So so they are what? Heavyweight containers. These containers will be activated during the server startup time itself or not? Come on, guys. When you guys start with what? The Tomcat server. When you guys start with what? The Tomcat server, guys. When you guys start with what? The Tomcat server. Okay. So these two containers are initiated automatically. Understood? Yeah. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Fine. This is all about the Spring container and it's the Spring container and its implementation classes. Anybody having any questions so far? Activating the Spring container is nothing but creating an object of this certain implementation classes. That's all. Clear? Any questions? Clear, guys? Come on, guys, just try to respond whether you are in line with me or not. You are following with me or not. Just want the confirmations from your side. If
Yes,
you have
yes.
any question, please feel free to ask the question. Okay, fine. So after initiating this after instantiating the container, sir, what the container will do automatically? Container has to create like as in some objects of our Spring Bean classes or not? Come on, guys. Once the container is instantiated in your application, sir, so what the container has to do, sir? The container has to create like as an objects for your given classes or not?
Yes.
Yes, but how the container know which classes has to be create, which classes has not to be create? Let's take a simple example. So in your project, you have 1,000 classes in your project. So there are the 1,000 classes are there in the project, guys. How the Spring container can know which classes need to be instantiated by the Spring container and which classes not to be instantiated by the Spring container? We need to tell them, right? We need to tell them to the Spring, can you please create an object for these classes instead of as a behalf of me? Can you create and give back to me? Can we ask like that or not, guys? So how you can provide such a kind of configuration, guys? How you can provide such a kind of information to the Spring? Let's take a simple example for better scenario. Okay, you have created one project. Okay, you created one project. In that project, there are the 1,000 classes are there. Okay, out of the 1,000 classes, 500 classes need to be created by the Spring. 500 objects need to created by the programmer. Let's say, for example, 500 classes related objects need to be created by the programmer explicitly, and 500 objects or 500 classes related objects need to be created by the Spring container. So how you can provide the 500 classes information to the Spring framework? Understand my requirement or not?
Yes, yes. For this answer is, please, we are creating an object for the default or whatever the class is providing by the Spring framework only. That's what I got an idea.
Ah,
But
yeah, the point here is, so see, as part of my
didn't
requirement, as part of my
question, sir.
requirement, so we have like as in the 1,000 classes in your project. So we would like to inform to the container, we would like to inform the container which classes, which class objects need to be created by the container through for what? Configuration. Through configuration. So that configuration is nothing but and for what? It's a simple kind of an XML file. It's a kind of an XML file, sir. Understand? It's a kind of an XML file. So in that XML file, we will tell them to the container. So container, please create an object. Please create an object behalf of me. Understand, guys?
No, sir. Yes, like
Yes,
by using the tags we are creating the object, correct?
correct.
We have application context is equal to new application context class path
That
or
is
XML,
fine, sir.
whatever
That
the
I will
class.
come to that point.
But
That, yeah.
yeah,
See,
but just we
my
are mentioning the ID. Just we are mention. Let me clear, sir. Uh, just we are mentioning the ID and class name in the XML file.
Mhm.
So whatever we are mentioning the ID and class name, is that mean the container needs to create the object for those, or like are we mentioning those ID and class names to create the objects only.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
I
that the
will,
way?
I will clear you these things, guys, just to try to understand. So see, as part of my requirement, so 500 objects are, sir, please turn off your camera, sir. Somebody having the camera has been enabled. So please turn off immediately. Yeah. Okay, fine. Fine, guys. Let's try to understand, sir. So see, some of the classes are, sir, still the camera is on, sir. Please verify. Silage, I think so. Please verify, double check.
Sir, my camera is off only.
Yeah, I think so. It is showing. 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay, yeah, now it's off. Okay, fine. So let's see, sir. So how we are informing to the Spring container? How we are informing the Spring container to create an object of the certain classes? See, sir, on the left hand side, these are the classes which are available in your project. Understand, guys? On the left hand side, these are the classes which are available in your project. Okay, and we are, whatever the objects need to create by the container, those classes we will configure in for what? One XML file. Understand, guys? Understand my point or not? Whatever the classes on the left hand side,
Yeah.
those classes are available in for what? In your project, guys. Whatever the class objects need to be initiated by the Spring container, those classes need to be configured in for what? XML file.
Yeah.
Okay, then only the Spring container, once the Spring container is instantiated, automatically the Spring container will read this configuration file and get to know which class objects need to be created by the container. Understand, guys? Understand my point, everybody? So whatever the classes you are configuring in your Spring configuration file, those classes only will be initiated by Spring container. Understand, guys? Out of 1000 classes, how many classes I have configured in XML file? How many classes I have configured in XML file? How many classes I have configured in XML file? Can you guys
2.
please confirm? Two
Two.
classes. So 1000 objects will be created by the container, or only 2 objects will be created by the container?
2 objects.
2 objects only. Understand, guys? Every project of your class will not be created by the every class in your project will not be created by the object by the container, sir. Whatever the classes you are going to configure in XML file, okay, those classes only will be created an object by the container. Understand, guys? Everybody understand or not?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. Okay, fine. Fine. So see, sir, immediately now the question may get into our mind. Sir, so who will read this an XML file, sir? Programmer need to read this an XML file, or a Spring container will read this an XML file? Come on, guys.
Container.
Container.
Spring container only whenever the Spring container is initiated, sir, automatically container will read this an XML file. Container will read this an XML file and creating an object of this certain classes in the memory. Understand, everybody?
Yes.
Oh, yes. So that is what I have mentioned, guys. Spring container creates for what? Spring Bean objects and perform the lifecycle operations and injecting the dependencies and finally destroying for what? Spring Beans. Understand the points or not? Spring container creates the Spring Bean objects, guys, and performing the lifecycle operations. Understand? And injecting the dependencies. Okay, finally what it will do, guys? Finally what it will do? Destroys the Spring Bean objects. Every Spring Bean in a Spring application has to be configured in where? Every Spring Bean of the Spring application need to be configured in where, sir?
Configuration file.
Configuration file. Spring configuration file is nothing but an XML file or not?
Yes.
Spring configuration file is nothing but an XML file. Who will be the creating that an XML file? Programmer. Programmer or the developer need to create an for what? An XML file, guys. Spring configuration file. It should be configure every bean in the Spring application. Whatever the classes you would like to create with the Spring, those classes should need to have in that configuration file. Understand? Understand, guys? Immediately the question may get into your mind. Sir, do we need to follow any specific name for the Spring configuration file or not? Yes, sir, there is no restriction, sir. There is no restriction to follow the particular name of your Spring configuration file. That can be of any name.xml file. Any name.xml file, guys. That can be Ashok IT.xml, Mahesh.xml, Ashok.xml, any kind of the file name. Do we have any specific name to define the configuration file? Do we have any kind of the specific name to define the Spring configuration file name? No.
No.
No. No, guys. Simple. Spring configuration file is nothing but it's a simple XML file. Which classes need to be created on those so you need to configure those Java classes. You need to configure the Java classes which the Spring has to be created. This is what a simple diagram for that. Understand, everybody? So whatever the classes are there in your project, so whatever the classes you will be the configuring in the XML file, those classes only the Spring will create an objects, not more than that. Understand? Who will be the taking care of creating the objects and destroying the objects and executing the lifecycle methods? Container. Understand, guys? Creating an object of employee class and destroying an object of an employee class and executing the lifecycle methods of an employee class will be managed by whom?
Container.
Spring container. Understand, guys, everybody? Anybody having any questions so far? Anybody having any questions so far?
So due to these containers, we are calling it as like dependency injection.
Injection, yes. Sir, whatever the classes you have configured in the XML file, those classes, object creations, object destructions, object lifecycle methods executions, all these things will be taken care by Spring container behalf of on the programmer. Simple.
Where we can find the servlet container you was speaking about?
Servlet container is a part of servlet technology in advanced Java.
But container, how we can find just like no, right? Like where?
No,
please?
no. Whenever you are starting the Tomcat server internally, Tomcat server contains servlet container and JSP container, sir. Okay, that is called Catalina.jar and Jasper.jar. Okay,
we are not writing anywhere logic for that to start.
Yeah, that is what I'm trying to say, sir. Servlet container and JSP container are heavyweight containers. So programmer doesn't have an option to instantiate explicitly by creating an objects of certain classes. Those things will be initiated by Tomcat server by default.
So there is no dependency injection with that?
No. The servlet container as well, there is a dependency injection concept. Okay, but
comparing
that is
Spring container with servlet container.
Yeah, I understand that, sir. Yeah.
So
Yeah, you are comparing with
please
what?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So you are comparing with what? Servlet container and JSP. Servlet container and Spring container, sir. Servlet container is also having the dependency injection internally, but programmer's side, you no need to do anything. Okay, understand? See,
Yes.
simple point.
Please, yes,
Yeah.
yes, I want more.
Simple.
I want
So how
both.
you are
Yes.
creating a servlet program? First of all, tell me, sir, how we are going to create a servlet program? Class something for what? First servlet. Okay. Extends HTTP servlet or generic servlet, right or not?
Correct, sir.
Yes. So inside the servlet method, inside the servlet class, so you are going to write for what? Public void service method, something for what? Servlet request object. Okay. And then followed with what? Servlet response object, right or not? You
Yes,
are
sir.
writing this one or not?
Yes, please.
Yes. So who will execute this service method? Who will execute this
And
service method? Who will
servlet
execute
container.
this? Servlet container, right or not? You no need to
Yes.
call this a service method, right? Agree? Yes.
Yes.
So this will get executed by whom? Servlet container. So in order to execute the service method by the servlet container, which objects are required here? Observe carefully and tell me. Which objects are required here? Servlet request
Servlet
object
request and
servlet response. Who is creating these objects? Who is creating these
container.
objects? Container.
Servlet container.
Container is internally creating an object of servlet request and servlet response and injecting those objects to what? Service method. A service method whenever the service method get executed. Understand, guys? So see, internally the dependency mechanism, dependency injection mechanism is also the part of servlet container by default. Understand? We are not creating an object, servlet request and servlet response. Who is creating? Container is creating internally and injecting such objects to for what? Our service method. Agree or not?
We don't call explicitly by service method, right?
Yes, definitely. So whenever the request comes to this servlet, automatically the service method get executed. Okay.
But who will call container
Implicitly container will call the service method, but before calling the service method, it requires for what? Two objects: servlet request, servlet response. Those objects are also created by container internally and inject such objects to this service method to get execute the logic of service method basically.
Awesome, sir.
Yes. So these are the things which are already there in the servlet level, but you don't know about it basically. That's what I mean to say. Okay. Yeah.
But here explicitly we are creating the objects in Spring.
Yeah.
By using the class.
Yes. Explicitly you need to define the classes which you want to create with the Spring. Okay. Yeah. Sir, no worries. In the hands-on session, you will get the clarity, sir. Okay. In the tomorrow, I can start developing the first application of the Spring framework. Okay. In the Spring framework, you no need to bother about creating an objects case. Everything will be taken care by Spring framework. That is the point.
What do you say? Loosely coupling?
Yeah, that is what I told you, sir. Like loosely coupled means. So see, whenever one class is depending upon the another class, guys. So then there is a tight couple between those objects. So if the Flipkart class accepts only debit card, means Flipkart can allow only for what? Debit card. Agree or not? Flipkart class requires like as in the payment object, right? So that payment can be of for what? Any kind. Debit card, credit card, net banking or wallets, right? So you can inject any kind of the payment object to the Flipkart class. This is called loose coupling.
Yes.
Okay. Payment is an interface. And all these are nothing but for what? Implementation classes. Understood? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anybody having any questions so far? This is about the Spring config. So today we discussed about Spring container and its implementation classes and Spring configuration and the Spring configurations as well. Tomorrow, I will talk about workflow of Spring application. Workflow of Spring application. Then you will get the clear picture. Understand, guys? If anybody having any questions, please go ahead with your questions, guys.
Is that my life cycle?
No, not life cycle, sir. Not life cycle. Tomorrow you will get to know the just workflow of Spring application. Who will create an object of Spring container? How the Spring container will read the XML file? Okay. So how the beans are created? Just will understand with the diagrammatic representation very easily, sir. Okay. Yeah. This is all about for the today, guys. If anybody having any question, feel free to ask the question, guys, now. Sir, the people who would like to enroll for this course, I hope you received an email from the admin team. So please go with that the instructions to do the enrollment. Okay. Yeah. So tomorrow also we have the session with the same bridge. Okay. Might have the link will change from Monday onwards.
Practicing with other YouTube.
Sorry.
Sir.
Yes, please.
Sir. Yeah, I'm practicing with doing all, but I'm stucking with the, like some of things, sir. So is that possible that we can cover from you, not in the class, like that whatever the group chat, sir, WhatsApp group chat?
Yeah. That
Right?
is
You
what
will
I
help
already.
us, right?
Yeah. Environmental setup. I am also guide
Like
you, sir.
not only
Okay.
your
Environmental.
not only your applications, sir. Like outside any doubts on Spring and Spring Boot, also you will like take care of us, right? Anywhere,
Yeah.
anywhere
I can,
stuck.
sir. Related to Java, I can help you. Related to Java, I can help you. Okay.
Java. Okay. Yeah. Because I'm almost there. So
Yes.
like sort of doing that. So Monday onwards you will be on, right, sir?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Monday onwards, the link will change, guys. Okay.
On
So
Monday, we having Christmas, right? On the day it is a holiday or
I will check with the admin team and get back to you on the tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Sure. Okay. So might be or it can be of Tuesday onwards. 25th is the Christmas, right? So might be they will be on holiday. Okay. Sorry about that. Might be again the session will start on Tuesday onwards. Friday and Saturday you will have the session. Okay. Tomorrow and the day after tomorrow with the same bridge. Okay.
Timing will be the same, right?
Right.
9.
Timings will be the same, sir, always. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. or 10:15.
Okay. Is there any possible to start early? I like start with 9 and end with 10. Actually, I have another call.
Yeah. So with the 10 or 10:05 or 10:10, sir, it max off. That's all. Not more than that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
these days, I mean, yesterday also 10, 10:25, 10:30.
Yeah. Sometimes, so we are in the demo sessions, right? It might extend of our discussion. Okay. So no problem. So I will take care of it. I will take care of it. Okay. In the going forward. Okay. Anybody?
Actually,
yeah.
Like
please.
when we go to the like trial interview, like when we are stucking with anything, like they're stressing on that point only, sir.
So no worries, sir. During of our discussions, I will giving you some sort of an interview questions itself. Okay. So just see based on my discussions. Okay. Based on my discussions, we'll be getting some sort of an interview questions. If you are people are interested to give like as in the mock interview, I'm happy to take like as in the mock interview in the weekends only.
Wow. Thank you so much. This is great.
Okay. Yes. If you guys are interested and come with me, sir, can you please take one mock interview for this weekend? Means definitely I can take it up. Okay. Definitely, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
If you
Do
are
we have any videos of previous like core and advanced Java like examples?
yes, sir. Right now we are already having one ongoing batch with the Java full stack development, sir, at morning 7:30. Currently I was talking about core Java with the OOPS concepts. Okay, you can check with the admin team on this. They will give you the much more information, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. You are looking like as in the videos for core Java and advanced Java, right?
No, sir. Actually, I don't have much time, to join in a class just to practice. Actually, I'm in track to attend the interviews. I have good
Okay.
knowledge on them, but I don't have much practice.
Okay. Okay.
That's the reason I'm failing. Even I have an idea about RESTful and web services remaining Jira all, but it's not like full-fledged. That's what I'm like, just brush up, and who can follow me to push into the practice. I think 1 or 2
No
months.
problem. So if you are not see, I can always push you to practice, sir. So the people who are already with me, I'm also already with me on Java full stack development or any other batches. So I'm always pushing towards to the practice only.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
Yeah.
Java full stack in the morning. Huh? What time it is?
7:30 a.m. IST, sir. That is.
I think full stack I've mentioned, sir. I need to get in Angular JS course, right?
Yes. Yes.
Angular JS also I need to know.
Okay.
In the WhatsApp group, if I have sent any question, that is private to you and or anybody can see. I mean,
Anybody can see, sir, in the WhatsApp group. So what see, after you guys are completing the enrollment process of this batch, okay, so whoever like registered for this batch, right, so they will be the part of in that group. So when you pose the question, so it will be it will be the visible to all others, okay, to all the group members, okay, and I will respond your questions. I will respond to your questions whenever I have some free time, sir, on the day. On the daily basis, I will be the checking your messages. In my free time, I will give you the response. If I am not giving any sort of response, means definitely that question will be addressed in our session. Okay. Yeah.
Java full stack, it says 8:30.
No.
Started yesterday, right?
Yeah, that is from another trainer. This is already ongoing batch, which we have completed around 35 sessions. Which we are in right now. We are talking about polymorphism just now. Tomorrow onwards, we are going to start with polymorphism.
Okay, where can I get the link?
Just get in touch with the admin team and ask them so about Mahesh sir related Java full stack development.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, they will share you that credentials. Okay, yeah.
You teach Angular also, sir?
No, sir. As of now, no. Okay, yeah. So that's all, guys. That's all for the today. If anybody having any question, please go ahead with your question. Otherwise, we'll wind up with the today and tomorrow we'll connect back. Okay, then. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.